Oh, I'm not getting any younger.
Just now. Go ahead. Nora.
Oh, stop it, Darren.
Take that away from that man. Yeah.
All right, it is 4 p.m. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Delaware Solid Waste Management Authority and on July 16th, 2024. And I'll ask here if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Here.
Commissioner Greeno,
Here.
Commissioner Short,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Chair and Score.
Here.
Here. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will be going into closed session. We have one item on our closed session, public employee performance evaluation for director. Any public comment? Seeing no public here, we will close public comment. We will go to closed session. We will be back for open session at 4:30. Thank you. All right, we are coming back out of closed session. Council, do we have anything to report out of closed session?
Nothing reportable out of closed session, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and go on into open session. Let the record show that all commissioners are present. We will begin with a public comment period. Any member of the public can address the Solid Waste Management Authority on any matter on or off the agenda. And you have 3 minutes. Do you have any public comment this afternoon? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We have some items on consent. The minutes from June 25th. Claim 9871 to U.S. Bank in the amount of $13,385.70. Claim 9857 for invoice 55126 to EBA Engineering in the amount of $7,433.75. Claim number 9873 to Harshwell and Company, invoice 4593 in the amount of $13,500. A budget transfer for 23-24 in the amount of $19,320, and a budget transfer for 24-25 in the amount of $58,700. Any public comment on consent? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. Board,
Move to approve consent.
second. I have a motion and a second. Here, would you please poll the vote?
Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Short?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Chair and Score.
Yes. All right, let's move into direct reports. Director Ward.
Thank you, Chair and Score. August 1st through 4th, we've got the Del Norte County Fair, which is our main face-to-face outreach event. And this year we'll be highlighting food rescue and food waste prevention at home, as well as proper recycling and collection systems programs that are available through Recology Del Norte. We're happy to be a long-term sponsor of the fair, and so you can look for us at our booth. And we also appreciate the support of Recology and Hambro staff, who also help staff the booth, as well as members of the Solid Waste Task Force. Not everybody volunteers, but we sure appreciate those who do. And I also would like to appreciate Assistant Director Seymour for organizing our fair events. We continue with Rethinking Recycling on KFUG. We'll be recording a program next Thursday, also related to the outreach we'll have at the fair. On June 27th, I organized and presented during a webinar organized by the California Resource Recovery Association and the Gold Rush chapter of the Solid Waste Association of North America, discussing SB 54 impacts on local governments. Let's see, thank you for approving the consent agenda. Regarding the landfill, EBA Engineering has completed the document updates associated with the overdue 5-year permit review, and we'll be signing those documents and submitting them to the Del Norte County Department of Environmental Health for their review before they submit them to Cal Recycle. Next month, Assistant Director Seymour will be very heavily involved in organizing the intense sampling associated with constituents of concern monitoring. This is something we have to do every 5 years and is considerably more rigorous and detailed than our regular semi-annual sampling. So it takes a lot more time. And last year, it was particularly frustrating in that, having spent all the time gathering the samples, there were problems with the lab. So several of those samples needed to be collected several different times. Again, a very significant investment staff effort.
Did I interrupt? Why did we have to sample so many times? What
These samples tend to be for things you only look for every 5 years. So that, and it's a comprehensive suite, largely looking at pesticides and herbicides, which you have to do targeted samples, and detections are in the parts per trillion range. Whereas in other things that we sample, we're looking for parts per billion range. But essentially it means you got to pump out larger volumes from each well, you got to fill more bottles, and then those bottles don't all go to one lab. Sometimes some of those other bottles go to other labs that have the special equipment to do those tests. And so if the other lab is down, and you don't know that when you're collecting the sample, you mailed the sample off, and then they give you a call after the sample arrives and says, yeah, we can't do that. So very frustrating, and Kira has first-person experience with this. So do you have anything to add to this story?
I hope it goes smoother this time.
We all do.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said constituent concern, random sampling. I was like, how does that go? Just somebody pulls into the transfer station, you pull them over. And,
No,
Yeah,
we're not, no,
sorry.
we're not talking about constituents of your electorate. We're talking about constituents in the water quality. So, very small molecules.
I just kind of wanted to watch Kira do that on the day. So, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Several years back,
Here's a cup.
I just wanted to let you all know there are a few major expenses that the board has approved that we do not have to have separately approved. As you all know, whenever there's any expense that's over $5,000, it has to be separately approved, even though it's budgeted. But there are specific areas where we don't do that. The payments to Hambro WSG, which is a large payment every month, and we really want to make sure that they're not having a cash flow problem. And then the payments to Del Norte County for the loan payments for the transfer station are also very important that they be timely. It's very important to get that money to the county. And you've already approved the financial documents approving every single payment. So those are, and I just wanted to note that we're making our major payment on the loan for the transfer station in August. And we'll discuss agenda item 7.1 and 7.2. And also this month, Assistant Director Seymour is very heavily involved in the electronic annual report, which has become a thicker set of electronic pages that need to be filled out, documenting all of the different programs we have going. And particularly now, because it includes SB 1383 programs, it also requires us to engage with, say, the County Community Development Department and the way that they're implementing the green construction and model water efficient landscape ordinance codes, because we don't implement those, so we need that feedback from our counterparts. Also, I would mention that there is one of the authority's refuse site attendant has a medical issue. We'll make them available for unavailable for several months. So we have opened a recruitment for another gate attendant, but I don't anticipate that they'll be adequately trained to be of much help over the summer. So bottom line is, over the summer, we're a little short-staffed, and our staff are doing the best to keep up with our tasks. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the director's report.
No.
Okay, moving on to the finances. Cash in the bank, we've got $2.4 million plus $198,000 for last month's rent. That's just a simple cash flow report. Looking at the accounts receivable aging summary, you'll see that there's just one account that is overdue by over 60 days, and that has already been sent to collections, reflecting Kathy Brewer's excellent work as our office manager. And under claims approved by director, once again, you'll see that our largest expense goes to Hambro WSG for their good services at the Del Norte County Transfer Station. And the second largest expense is to the county for the interfund cost plan to cover IT services and auditing services and things the county does for us. With that, I'll move on to the cash flow reports. This last month, once again, it marks the end of the fiscal year, and you might notice that it's much closer to on the budget now. If you look at the item 3.5 on the authority revenue report, that's because I've adjusted the budgetary amounts based on the budget transfers that we've made. So clearly I brought that closer to zero, whereas throughout the year, you probably recall I've been saying, well, we're well ahead of budget. So as those budget numbers accumulate, we have to balance out the year, then I draw down on those numbers. So you'll see that at the end of the fiscal year, our income lines ended up being just about $500 ahead of budget. And the rest of the money was moved around. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I got a couple just small ones. I see in our claims approved by the director, KFUG's on there for $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
Do we do that every month?
Not every month. No, it's a
Huh?
semi-annual thing.
Oh, is that paying for our little radio spot there?
It is our paying for our little radio
Okay.
program as well as some advertising.
All right. Also, on our balance sheet, you could help me read that. I know I'm going to show my Achilles heel
Ah.
by not knowing what this is saying. In our liabilities and equities fund, there's a fund balance, 776,943, but it's in parentheses. So am I reading that? Am I supposed to read that backwards? So we have a fund balance of $750,000 there?
And
Or are
I'm,
we in, is that a liability of some kind for?
in the past, this balance sheet has been an area of inquiry of the board. And it's always been a little awkward in that this is produced by the county. And it's kind of like your check fund balance. It's a cash accounting basis.
That's
And
what I was hoping to interpret it as.
so I have limited abilities to interpret it. And it's a report that we get. As you can see, this is for May, because we get these reports several months after the fact. And in fact, the end of the month report for June will be quite a bit delayed, because that usually waits for all the accounts to settle out as part of the fiscal year end. So I don't have a very good answer for you. I'd be
Okay.
happy to follow through with
and-
any questions you
And
have.
the reason I ask is, in general, in whole, our assets, we have $2.4 million. Our cash solid waste asset. We have a little bit of cash there too. And then the rest of the assets are land and equipment depreciation and stuff like that. But focusing on the 2.4 million. And if I'm reading this right, down on our liabilities and fund equity, we have a fund balance of $750,000 there as well, 776,943. And then also the difference between our revenue and expenditures is $275,000. So if I'm reading this correctly, we have about $1 million to the good on our liabilities and fund equity group, and we have 2.4 million in our cash for solid waste. So I'm wondering if we truly do have $3.4 million ish of a checkbook balance, if that's the analogy you want to use. And if that be the case, then I'm wondering why we are not doing things like maybe paying more toward our OPEB obligation, or paying off our bank loan or something like that. It seems like we have a pretty big balance of money. So that's what's driving the question. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind following up for me on that, I would appreciate that.
And Rich and I were already planning on meeting with the Del Norte County Auditor on another issue, so we'd be happy to bring this forward.
Oh.
We've been talking about this. We're in the black. We've come a long ways. The balances on the county thing are not adjusted each year. We have studies behind some of these numbers, and they are better numbers for us. And it just hasn't been the time. The county's been very busy, and kids been saying, wait. So, but I'm going to meet with them and show them, hey, can you adjust this to these balances? And that will show that instead of like this, it will be positive. Because we are positive according to the auditors. But
Okay. Yeah, it'd be nice to get some kind of format to let us know what,
yeah.
a little easier to read, that
Yeah.
so we know where we're
Right,
at.
and the auditors, they audited it, they've come up with a positive balance, so we're in the black
We're
for
probably in the
first
black.
time in 30 years.
Probably in the black quite a ways, maybe.
Meaning
Yeah,
Harshwall as opposed to the Del Norte County Auditor.
Thank you.
Yes, we are quite a ways in the black.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, is
But
maybe the
this
board would
form,
be.
this form is all about balancing things out.
Right.
And
Yep.
some of these are real assets, and some of these are figurative assets. That's probably the wrong terminology, but they're not hard assets. They're not there's liabilities is a number. that
Right.
just gets associated with, like the post-closure liability. I mean, some of these numbers have not changed, even though we know they've changed because we've made sure that they've changed. Even our application for some of the things that have adjusted down, which previously for years went against our liability. So, yeah, it'd be great. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate that. And I do think that I've always sort of just ignored this page because it doesn't give the real picture. Now, if that first line said $3, then I'd be probably,
Right.
it's like,
And
where'd that 2 million go?
And I agree. Some of the numbers are extraneous. Look, well, our post closure liability, it's 2.046 million ish.
Ish.
We have to account for that.
Yeah.
Just in case something drastic happened. You never know who's going to get elected and what'll happen to this JPA. So I understand having to cover those.
I can speak
Numbers,
on
those-
behalf of the
those-
city. We're willing to allow you guys to have the land.
Yeah, I bet that is true.
We'd love to just gift it.
Is that did you just make a motion? Is that what?
Mike lives in the city. Yeah. We just give, here's a gift.
But I mean,
it will keep on giving for the next 30 years.
Yes, that's true.
Sorry. I'll turn off my
What
mic.
I was getting at is I understand that we don't really pay attention to the depreciation of equipment and stuff like that when we're looking at our books and paying bills but there's other things that we do have to pay attention to, that being one of them. So I was just trying to get my head wrapped around actually where we are in the checkbook. Okay.
Anything else? Director
That
Ward?
wasn't enough.
That was plenty.
I appreciate the questions, and it'll help guide our conversation with Glenn when we have it.
Then we'll move on then to we don't have any items on the landfill, the transfer station, or the collection, but we do have a couple of general solid waste authority matters. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of proposed authority staff structuring, so forth, that we've been talking about some time. We had some questions regarding the actual verbiage of what we did at our previous meeting. So we're going to clean that up, make sure we get it all correct. So
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is just a cleanup for the purpose of HR, and with that, I'll move that we approve the attached documents, including the updated job descriptions, job titles, and pay ranges for employees effective the 1st of July, 2024, while retaining their pay steps and anniversary dates earned prior to that date. And 2, also move that we affirm that MOU section 4.14 will not be applied to any of these changes.
have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any public comment? Close public comment. Then anything else from the board? Director Ward, anything that you want to say?
Other than I'm sincerely sorry for the staff that my negligence on the exactitude of the paperwork did not allow this to go forward at the last meeting. So this is a reaffirmation of what I understood to be the board's intent last meeting.
All right, thank you. Kara, would you please pull the vote?
Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Short?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Chair and Score.
Yes. All right, 7.2, discussion possible action regarding legislative bills from the 24 session.
This is an update to say that the 2 bills that are most important to this agency are continuing to move forward. They've been referred to the Assembly Appropriations Committee and will be heard before the next board meeting. So we're really hoping that those move through. But the main one is, of course, AB 2902, and I've included the attached the language on that. While we were looking for a permanent extension of the rural exemption that we are currently enjoying, that has changed so that it would be an exemption extended through the end of 2036. And after that point, then there would be a potential for renewing exemptions in 10-year increment, which is a reasonable enough compromise that I don't think we should change our support position at all. And we're still having very high hopes for this bill. And very much appreciate John Kennedy's work on this as legislative advocate for the Rural Counties Environmental Services, JPA.
Questions? All right, very good. Thank you for the update. Anything else, Director Ward, that you have for us this afternoon?
No, except we will not have an August meeting because of the many activities I described coming up in August. And our next meeting will be a special meeting on Tuesday, September 3rd.
Okay. We will stand adjourned then until Tuesday, September 3rd. Thank you, everyone.